My name is Mike Fidler. My date of birth is 9/27/1943. I was born in the Elizabeth Hospital in Prairie Grove, Arkansas.
And this interview is for the Prairie Grove Oral History Project, and we just want to be sure that we have your permission to reuse the interview.
Mike Fidler gives you permission to reuse my interview.
Thank you, Mike. Who were your parents?
My father was Howard Fidler. My mother was Merritt Fidler.
And tell me about your siblings in your family.
I had two sisters growing up, Carolyn and Linda. They were twins. They were probably 5 years younger than I. And that was it, three children in the family.
Tell me about your family business.
My father had opened an Otasco store in Prairie Grove, Arkansas. Actually, he bought it from Roy Fidler. We moved to Arkansas from California, and we ran that for years and years until I purchased it in about 1984, 5, I don't know, somewhere around in there.
What was your part in the family business?
Actually, I started working for my father when I got out of college. Worked there and started building some apartments as, some other income. But I worked there till I purchased the business from him, like I said, in around the 80s.
About how old were you when you moved to Prairie Grove from California?
I would say we moved when I was about 12 years old.
Did you work in the store at that time?
Yes. Every summer my dad had me down there sweeping, cleaning, stocking. And anytime I could get out, I had other jobs. I would be out mowing yards, or I would be hauling hay. Anything I could do to get out of the store, I would do, but he preferred me to be there because he had things he wanted done. He knew I would do them correctly, and I wanted out because I didn't want to be there, and I could be out and do whatever I pleased.
Talk about your father and how he interacted with the customers.
My father worked through Otasco. He was very, very good in sales. He was very good at letting people buy and pay out. He was very, very good at letting people have credit that he knew would not ever come back in. And he was just a really good guy. Hard worker, worked all the time, took very little time out. He actually went, I guess, though, to all my ball games and all my sister's games. He was there for the sporting events and anything that was to do with school. So was my mother. But he basically worked hard all of his life, and so did my mom. Actually stayed home. She was a stay-at-home mom. She did all the cooking, the 3 meals a day. Never actually had a job that I can remember, and Dad furnished, the income for the family. And because I worked at the store a lot growing up. So I had a pretty good knowledge when I finally came back and purchased the store. Because even when I was in college, during the summer, I had, time down at the store, ordering, putting up merchandise. And actually we got not a computer system back then. It was a typeset machine that you would post in people's names and dates and what they purchased, and it would typeset and go across, or whatever it was called. And that was our computer system for our accounting system that we had at the store.
Tell me about the selection of products that your father and you had in the store, because I think it was quite a bit of stuff.
The Otasco store at that time had really a large selection of different items. We had furniture, we had appliances, we had televisions, we had lawnmowers, we had tillers, we had all types of fishing, we had lawn and garden, we had paint. I think back then it was more like a full service store, because the little towns back then didn't have the big Fayetteville stores at that particular time. So we carried just about everything. We carried feed. So we had a wide variety of products in the Otasco store.
What are your earliest memories of Prairie Grove?
I would say the earliest memories I had of Prairie Grove, Arkansas was probably, we used to have a theater. I don't know if in Prairie Grove, and we used to go down there on Saturday night, and that was kind of the happening place. And then there was a soda fountain in one of the drugstores back when I was young. I don't remember who owned it back then, but it had all the sodas, the shakes, the ice cream, and that was a fun place to go. And a lot of the kids from school would be down there. And of course, the show was the only other big event we had in Prairie Grove. And I guess for fun would be the things would be, we used to swim in the rivers here out at the Illinois River a lot. Ride our horses out there, take off the saddles, get in the water with the horses, and that was my earliest recollection of what we did in Prairie Grove.
What was it like attending school here?
Attending school in Prairie Grove, Arkansas was, I don't know, it was a lot of fun. I played all sports. I enjoyed the sports, and most of my friends played the sports. And back then, that was basically what you had in Prairie Grove in the school. So, of course, you had the academics, but I think back then, most of us boys weren't really interested too much in academics. We were more interested in sports. But in order to play sports, you had to keep your grades up. The coaches were very particular about making your grades if you were going to play in athletics. So we made sure, or my dad made sure that my grades were good, or I wouldn't be doing anything. But that's what we did basically.
Tell me about some of your classmates and your teachers from school.
I guess Miss Moore was my English teacher, and Martha Weaver was my math teacher, and those are the two that I remember the most. I guess I did really well in math classes in the University of Arkansas, and I think I attribute that to Mrs. Weaver. She was very, very good at I guess, teaching me, because I was kind of thick-headed. And I actually passed English and math, so I must have picked up a little bit of knowledge along the way. The funny thing was, when I went to the University of Arkansas in my first physics class that I was in, I walked in and they pulled out these little slide rules, which I had never seen in Prairie Grove, Arkansas. And they started doing calculations on sines, cosines, and tangents. And one thing, I didn't really know how to use one or what it was.
Tell us about some of your neighbors in Prairie Grove.
My neighbors in Prairie Grove, directly behind me, was George Wiswell. He owned the Prairie Grove paper, whatever, Enterprise, I guess it was called back then. And across the street from me, Paul and Connie Jones, and he owned Jones Lumber Company. And then my uncle, Roy Fidler, which originally started the Otasco store, lived. And I don't remember the plumber, but he was catty corner, I guess, across from me. And that's most of the neighbors that I knew growing up.
What was the downtown Prairie Grove like when you were a kid?
When I was growing up in Prairie Grove, downtown Prairie Grove had a movie theater, which was the big happening in Prairie Grove at the time, the big event on Saturday night, maybe Friday night as well. They also had a ice cream parlor in one of the drugstores down there, and that's where a lot of the kids would come after school and they'd get their shakes, their floats, and those were the two big, I guess, places where the kids kind of hung out. I think there was a pool hall there, but my folks wouldn't allow me in there. So that's basically what we did. Or we would go up and would play at the gym, or we would play baseball, or we would play basketball. We didn't have all the distractions like the iPads and the things that kids play on now for hours and hours. We were outside doing something.
Did your family attend church, and if so, where'd you go?
My family attended the Methodist Church in Prairie Grove, Arkansas, and I ended up going there as well.
What did you and your friends do in Prairie Grove for fun when you were growing up?
Well, again, back then, of course, in the summer we had baseball. We played, a lot of them played baseball, and we were together a lot fishing. We would go out to the river and fish, take our horses. We had horses back then. We used to ride horses a bunch. We'd take them to the river, off with the saddles, and and take them out in the water and just enjoy it. But we would spend the night on the river fishing, or we would spend the night at each other's house and playing sports. But that was basically what we did for fun back then.
What did your parents and other adults do for fun back in the day?
My parents basically just went out to eat, and visited friends, played cards with friends. I know that Dad and Archie Bartholomew, used to go out a lot together, but I don't think they did and were out and about like this new generation is. They weren't out all the time. They were tired when they got home from working.
What do you remember about the Battlefield Park? What was it like when you first came, and then how's it changed?
Of course, the Battlefield Park, when I first came to Prairie Grove, was just, I guess, just starting. And I think it was owned by the Prairie Grove Lions Club at the time. And it was later given to the Park Association, I think. And they used to clean and clear the woods when we were first back here, trying to make it what it is today. But today they have a big summer get together there. They have dancing, they have music, they have booths, they have all kinds of crafts. It's really an Arkansas destination anymore, because people come in there a lot. If you go up there now, they've got all kinds of swings, playing equipment for children, walking trails, So it's really grown and gotten to be really, really nice.
Tell me about your family's rental business and your properties, how that's developed and grown over the years.
My family started out just in the Otasco, and then we built some just duplexes or fourplexes behind the store. And since then it has grown a lot. We have a lot of rental property, a lot of apartments. We have storage buildings, we have commercial buildings. Hoping to turn all this over to my son and retire. He keeps saying, later, Dad, you're doing a good job. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but sooner or later it's got to happen, because I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm getting where the hours bother me. I don't have the time. I don't feel like it. When I come home from mowing, I'm tired. So he's going to have to buck it up and get with it one of these days. So, but he's got a full-time job, and he's got his children growing. I mean, he's an appraiser, and he works day and night doing that. And then he's a great dad. He's with his boys playing ball somewhere all the time. Summer, winter, whatever kind of baseball, football, basketball, whatever they're in. Him and Julie are there with them, supporting them all the time.
Tell me about Sean's role in the business when you had it.
Well, when I was growing up and I purchased the store from my father, Sean worked there just like I did growing up. And in later years, when I owned the store, he worked with me in the store as all sales, kind of like what I did, took over the ordering, the purchasing, and the actual running of the store. But later, my wife got real sick, and we had to be gone a lot, and he was in college part-time, and he quit twice college to come down and run my store while we were down at MD Anderson with Carol, getting her treatments and getting her well. And so I really, he never did finish school, and I kind of blamed that on me, because he was doing a good job of going, and all of a sudden he had to quit in the middle of a semester or something and come home and run the store with my dad so that we could be gone for medical treatment for Carol.
Tell me how the community responded when your wife was having her medical problems, and the kind of support you got.
The city of Prairie Grove and all my friends and people I didn't even know were fantastic to Carol and I when we had the medical problems and we were gone. I mean, when we'd get back, there would always be people that would be coming over with some kind of food or something to help out, and anything that somebody could actually do to help, they would do it. And the church was great. The Methodist Church was always there. Did I need something? Did I need help? So I would say these small towns are a great place to grow up in when you have a lot of real good, close friends.
What else can you say about Prairie Grove maybe that I haven't thought to ask about?
I would say anybody that lives in the big cities, like I went down to Houston and Dallas, I don't see how they live there. It is so big, it is so large, you don't know anybody. Then you come back to Prairie Grove and you just say, thank you, Lord, for letting me grow up in Prairie Grove, Arkansas.